I'm excited to try this bumper, and this is really when, like I said, it's so exciting because once you get to this part, you really start seeing how the car is going to look. And I think this is going to be a fun reveal. I'll close the hood and then you'll get to see exactly how it's going to look. So we have the hood done, the fender done, and we are about to do what I think a lot of people might consider a little bit more difficult part, which is the bumper. And people say that it's a little bit more difficult, mainly due to the fact that it's a little bit more curvy. However, the Model Y compared to the previous gen on the 26 is far easier, in my opinion. It's in terms of it's flatter, it has less curvature that goes this way, so it makes it a lot easier. So we love the way that this looks. This is called Starlight Green. It is a color shift, so it kind of has some purple hues to green hues to blue hues, and I think it looks fantastic. So once we put the bumper on, we'll really get a good look about how it's actually going to look. But as we do it, this is just a very small part about our R&D process. We're actually going to be doing it all around the whole car. So eventually, we'll send you a photo, or we'll put a photo out on our social channels of exactly how it'll look once it's completely done. So in the bumper side, there's really two types. There's a bulk, which is I think going to be a very, very popular among pros. And then templates, which is typically cut to fit exact. This is actually a little bit of a hybrid approach. I add a lot more materials in certain areas. However, for the most part, it leans more into the template side. This is still a prototype, so I don't exactly know if it's going to be, I mean, I've tried it a couple times, but other than that, it does come from our original. So when we designed these templates, we were one of the first ones to come out with this particular model one. We go through extensive testing, and then our people, our employees, also test it quite a bit before we actually put this out. So I am going to be a little bit repetitive, so if you're watching the whole series, I really appreciate it. Fly. But what we're doing right now is we are using what we call slip solution that basically hydrates the surface of the vehicle. And then we have another solution called the Tack solution, which is basically just water and alcohol, 80% water, 20% alcohol. And then that actually flushes out the soap, which then activates the adhesive. I'm excited to try this bumper, and this is really when, like I said, it's so exciting because once you get to this part, you really start seeing how the car is going to look. And I think this is going to be a fun reveal. I'll close the hood and then you'll get to see exactly how it's going to look. So what I typically do is something called a reverse roll. Basically just laying it down like this. It's stuck okay. Okay, here we go. So this is what I mean by a reverse roll. You just kind of roll it all out, all the way. And then you should be able to get all of that. All right, so one mistake I already see is I totally forgot to take this trim out. So I do need to actually get that out. But I don't know if this fits, so we'll see how it works. And then we'll kind of go from there. So once I have it laid, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that underneath the film, there's enough slip solution. And you see that when there's not enough, it kind of feels like very, very sturdy. It's not going to move very well. So you don't want that. You want it to move freely and easily. That's really the key to making this a successful install. And I think for beginners, what I've noticed is they get a little shy with the slip and tack solutions. And then once they start learning, they realize, man, I got to use a lot more of this. So I think that's one of the feedback. All right. Cool. Okay, so we're going to start from the driver's side. Look at all that. That definitely needs to be released. Okay, we're going to start from the driver's side and then work our way. All right. So you see, this kit is a lot more edges right here. And this is exactly how we designed this kit. So we'll see how this works. And also one difference is the tow hook is actually on the other side compared to the original one. So just a heads up on that. Cool. All right, so I'm pretty happy with how that's laying down. Okay. I'm gonna grab my Tack solution right there. Okay. And guys, I am kind of learning how this template will fit. So I'm going to be moving some things around here and there as I kind of do this. So we'll see. Hopefully it's good, but you never know. All right, so I'm actually going to pull it all the way in here. Get some tension. Okay, I got some dirt right here. Okay. Here's what I'm actually going to do in this case is I want to make sure that all of this line right here, I got enough coverage to push this in a little bit. And then after I'm going to pull this out. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Oh yeah, that looks actually fantastic. Okay, I also added a lot more material on the bottom right here because we need that to all be covered. You see that right there? You want that extreme coverage. Okay. Then this part is pretty challenging because this needs to align with this piece right here because this is a template kit. There's some dirt I felt. All right, so now that I have this right here corner tacked and this corner tacked, I can actually move this up and down, but actually it fit almost perfectly. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually push the rest of this down into this, and then I can also focus on kind of getting some of this down. I know I only actually did all the way up to, I think here, focusing on this line. So now I'm gonna start pushing some of this water out this way as well. These fingers right here are pretty minor, so I'm not actually worried about it. I'm just gonna go ahead. Look at all that coverage though. It goes over, which is really important in color PPF. That, to me, is fantastic. So cleaning up all the edges right here. Probably gonna have to do a few designs on this one, just because the bumper is always a challenge. But I mean, so far though, it's actually fitting a lot better than I anticipated. So that's a good sign. So I'm actually gonna focus on some of those areas as well. This fit pretty perfectly. I actually should have gotten that edge before I did this, but it's okay. Okay, make sure you're lubricating on all those areas. I'm gonna spray some tack into this. So you'll probably start seeing me talk about slip and tack, and that mixture is going to be really important. You're going to be going back and forth between tack, slip, and so on. All right, so, but I got all of this pretty much side done. I obviously didn't do any of this top part, but I'm actually going to save that and just see how it reacts. So I might actually have to move this around. All right, so while that's happening, this must have dried. So hydrate all of this again, making sure be careful. Awesome. So you can see that I have all this area hydrated and also the top layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to stretch this all the way across. And here's the thing about stretching, guys. You don't want to stretch just this far area. You want to stretch it from point A, which I have it tacked from here, all the way across here. And you're going to try to get the exact same alignment point down here. So this is moving freely right now. I'm going to get my tack ready in case I need it right off the bat. I got my squeegee right here. Okay, and I'm just going to move this all the way here. So how's that look? Pretty good? All right, so I actually sprayed some tack right into this corner. Putting some pretty deep, like squeegee right there. Look what happens right here when we do that. This actually pulls in, and you can see that it's starting to push in all the way. It's actually quite tight, which is fine. But let me just go ahead. There we go. I can pull that down a little bit. I did add a good amount of material, and you can see it start to hug those edges right here, which is really nice, actually. So I can move this up and down a little bit as I need to. All right, I'm not worried about that right now. I'm just worried about here. We're gonna do the same thing on this side. So go ahead. I'm gonna focus right here. Pull this out. Now we're gonna go ahead and make sure it's hydrated all the way around. And we're gonna do the same thing right here and just make sure that all this is good. And that, my friends, look really good. So from here, we're going to, notice how I'm going right to the line because it's actually gonna fold over. That's what you want. So right now I have all this area completely tacked, and you see this tension. What this is asking it to do is go down. You just want to follow this, watch. Okay, and then at this point, that actually works itself out. Just want to go to the bottom. Okay, we're gonna seam that together. We can start getting all of these out. Got all those edges right here. So the next phase right here is going to be a little bit challenging because here's the thing. First of all, it's been some time since we've actually worked in the center. So if it's been a lot of time, you should actually make sure your hands are clean. You just want to hydrate it a little bit, right? The other thing that you want to watch out for is prepping your car is so important because a lot of times, like these lights right here, all these areas, it carries dirt. So you just want to make sure that it's in a good state before you start squeegeeing everything else down. So even like here, right here, just want to make sure that it's fully hydrate it all the way around before kind of squeezing all that down. Just kind of hold it closer, and then there you go, I can get it out. And then you gotta have some relief, so you can hold it right here, and then I'm holding it very, very gently. Let me get a seat right here. I'm gonna do the same thing right here. Focus on the body line real quick. Let this loose. Let this out a little bit too. Let it relax a little bit. It's a little too crazy. And then after that, you can just start pushing everything down. There's the tow hook right there. Talked about that earlier. Again, it's changed a little bit. You want to gradually hold this. Allows the bubble to escape. And if you stretched it like I have, it should actually just fold itself over, and very naturally. You can see I'm not really doing much to this, and it's just folding over, and there's no tension right there. So I'm gonna do a double take. This area can hold a lot of moisture. I just want to make sure you kind of heard some of those right there. Making sure that all the bubbles. I think I added a little too much material, honestly. But if we weren't, I mean, look at that's a lot. So we probably will remove some material, but you can see how much coverage you actually need. Look at that. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people, especially when you're first starting, you always think more material is better, but actually it becomes a lot more harder, or sorry, a lot harder if you have a lot more material sometimes. So sometimes less is better. Okay, so again, this is a prototype. So honestly, the hard part is done. Bubble. You want to be a little firm there. I'm going to go ahead and try it on this side. I do think I need to add a little bit more work here, so I don't know if I'm going to leave this on. However, very, very happy with the first outcome. This is, again, the first or second bumper we've done on this particular product. All right, so here's my thought process right here. There's not a lot of materials, but we do need to stretch this quite aggressively all the way through. So this is where I think actually a heat or like hot water would help with. All right, so this is slip, but it's actually hot water. So what I'm actually doing now, and the reason why it's so short is because if you saw the first cut, I mean, I really don't have a lot of material to work with. So that's kind of a little bit of a limitation of how this bumper is designed. So on a template, you're definitely limited of how you can do that, right? So I'm just kind of using hot water to massage this area so that it's a little bit easier to stretch. Oh yeah, I can see it's already, you kind of see that? It feels lighter, or it looks lighter, honestly. I think on camera too. And then from here on out, we're gonna just stretch it quite aggressively all the way into this little area. Okay, all right, so once that stays, that actually stayed right there, you can actually use a body line right here to aggressively, there you go, push that in there. Use this body line. This is a very important design element, honestly. And then look at that coverage right here. So I think I have some edits to do, but the coverage overall is really good. You see how when you stretch it, here's what happens. It actually folds over the edges, because when you stretch it, there's tension, so it folds over whatever edge there is. So you can see right here, it actually self-folded over. So let's get a close-up right here. Because of the stretch, look what happened. The edges are done. I mean, like, there's not much to do there. So there's a couple things. There's some tension right here, but I just think I need to remove a little bit more materials. But you can see, because of the way that we designed this right here, it actually turned out really, really good. Now, we have a couple more areas here that we want to make sure that we have, you know, some tension as well. This is still hot water or hot slip. Just gonna make sure I massage this area a little bit more. Okay, so by pushing into that tack right there, you can see I'm able to kind of push that material down. Man, that that is unbelievable. All right, so I just want to show you the inside when I stretched it. And that's pretty dang good for a first try, I think. So look at the inside right there. That was a big amount of stretch, guys. So I don't want to make it sound like it was an easy stretch. That was about what I would say like 3/4 of an inch of a stretch. So that's actually a lot in PPF standards. Some design elements right here that we do need to fix. But overall, that turned out really, really good, right? Very, very little tension. And then I got some of my, okay. And here's the part that I think I missed. I forgot that I like leaving this loose so that you can use now this tail to basically align it to this, because it's a lot harder for this to align here. However, this is so free moving that you can kind of align it to that line. So overall though, you're gonna feed it in. You don't want to bridge it, so you're just gonna feed it in all the way in right here. But let me just say, if you end up seaming like this, of course you could do this in bulk. If you actually seam properly, let me just seam it now at this point, it will actually look pretty dang good. So if you do seam it properly, like this is sort of, as long as, so here's the thing about seaming. You don't want to actually have a overlap. You actually want to, what we call in the PPF, butt seam. So you want it right against it, like this. So do you guys see the seam right here? I think you do, but it's really not that bad, and it hides it fantastic once it's done. So I have some edits to be made. I'm not saying this is what it's gonna look like. I have a couple things I want to make, but fantastic, fantastic kit. And the film, very impressed with how easy it is to work with, how well it sticks. And honestly, some of the other issues I have with some of the other films that I've tested is lift lines and working lines. And basically when you have a do-yourselfer, oftentimes you take apart, you put it back, like you do that quite a bit. So this one, even when you do that, it really doesn't leave those marks, or even if it does, it's very light. So I think that's a really, really big plus, and it helps that this color looks absolutely gorgeous. So that pretty much sums up, I think, the bumper part. I'm gonna go ahead and close this and do a quick reveal. I know it's not fully done, but check this out. I don't know, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. Should we do the whole car, or should we change into a different color as we continue doing this? Again, big shout out to Miracle Coat. Great film, really easy to work with. And if you can check it out, we're gonna put their links below. But we're gonna let this rest a little bit. And we're gonna get back and finalize this series by doing some of the edges. And we'll see you later.